The Ravens, are they going to draft a QB with all the Lamar Jackson things going on? That's a real thing. We have some audio we'll play, and we'll be getting into that. Also, Lamar James, Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. As you see, LeBron James is third. Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. An NFL exec, an anonymous NFL exec, said something that could be seen as a slight, but I think it's also very obvious. But in terms of the breakdown of what this exec said, I think it's something very poignant in terms of if Patrick Mahomes was in the same situation of Lamar Jackson, what would be the outcome? An NFL exec anonymously went on the record to speak on that. So I wanted to bring that here to y'all. And so we will get into that. And then LeBron James. LeBron did LeBron things last night, and he was able to will his team against a Utah Jazz team that we all thought was tanky coming into the year, but has been feisty. You know, they were a top 4 seed for, a good quarter of the season. And then they've kind of trickled back down to earth. But LeBron did LeBron James things, and they needed every single bucket. He put up another 30-piece. He's able to channel this all on a bum foot. That man is not healthy. He's healthy enough. And there's a huge game coming up against the Clippers. Will they be healthy? Will AD play? Does it really matter? We'll get there. So if you're new here, feel free, whether live on a replay, hit that like button. I would appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. That helps the brand grow and help the content continue to improve as we try to make this a full-on production in the very near future. So all support is appreciated. But we will start with the Ravens, and will they draft a quarterback? Let's jump right into it. They were given a little pre-draft, what would you say? They were given a little pre-draft press conference, going over their draft strategy as they do pre-draft presser. There you go. See it there. So Ravens GM Eric DeCosta, I'd say there's probably more than 4 guys that can be significant quarterbacks in this league. Asked if QB would be a consideration in round 1, says it comes down to the board. And here we go. I'd have to say yes, because we have QBs in our top 31. Interesting. Will the Ravens, because again, everyone seems to assume that the Ravens have the leverage here. Everyone assumes that the Ravens aren't under any pressure. And I've been vehemently against that narrative and against that notion. I think Lamar Jackson has all the leverage here. But if they take a quarterback, do you think that will impact the negotiations with Lamar Jackson? Because as I've been saying, Lamar can sit at home until week 10 and still pull up and sign the tag and get the 32.4 mil. So that to me means I got all the leverage because I can wait until October, November, pull up and still get paid. Whereas the Ravens need a QB for week 1. And they only have one QB officially on the roster. And that's why they were out here looking at Baker Mayfield. They were out here trying to figure things out in terms of, allegedly, I think I heard Sam Darnold as well. But so right now they have one QB on the roster. Are the Ravens willing to roll the dice and draft a QB in the first round? And I don't think they're going to move up. What are they, in the 20s? Let me see. Let me pull up their, I believe they're like 22. Let me make sure. Going to Tankathon early. Y'all know how we do with Tankathon. Let's see where we at. Tankathon. Yeah, they're at 22. So to me, this is Hendon Hooker territory. If you're forced to take a QB in round 1, to me that says Hendon Hooker. I mean, Hendon Hooker, coming off what, the ACL? He has a second round grade. If he didn't get hurt, he would have been in contention to be drafted in the first round. So maybe you draft him based off how he's healing up. Will that be a thing where it allows can we allow drafting Hendon Hooker? Is that enough pressure for Lamar to pull up and sign? I don't believe so. But in regards to the appearance of it, Lamar doesn't want to pull up. Okay, we'll throw the rook out there and let him cook. So, that's kind of where now you can swing the leverage back the other way. Because right now, Lamar has a leverage. He doesn't have to pull up till week 10. He doesn't have to pull up till week 10, and he can, pull up at week 10 and collect that 32.4, count that as a year, and then move on and try to renegotiate this whole thing again next year. So what it really comes down to is, if you're the Ravens and you're really trying to pull this off, is this the move? Because this all started with, Ravens director of player personnel, Joe Hornets, said at the team's pre-draft presser that the idea of Anthony Richardson as a first rounder isn't new to NFL teams. I don't think he's really jumped in our eyes. Hornets did concede Anthony Richardson's combine performance was impressive. This is a false narrative because he did not have a first-round grade coming into this season, coming into the last college football season. So it's a little interesting now. Again, revisionist history. People want to act like they knew all along. Anthony Richardson did not have a first-round grade coming into Florida last year. But okay, now they're the Ravens who can't draft, wide receivers worth a damn. Now all of a sudden, Anthony Richardson, he didn't really jump. This isn't new. We knew he was going to be a first-rounder. Then how come the idea of him having a second-round grade, or some had him even lower, third-round grade, now all of a sudden he could go as high as 4, and that's been shocking to us, but apparently not the Ravens. Okay, cool story, bro. But then that's what led to the follow-up of Eric DeCosta jumping out there and saying that he'd have to say yes because we have QBs in our top 31. So this looks to be a real possibility, and this could be something that could shift the appearance of leverage. I still think Lamar Jackson would have the ultimate leverage because he doesn't have to show up until week 10 to get paid and to have that count as a year of service. But in regards to the Ravens need a QB1, whether it's their real QB1 in Lamar Jackson or a stopgap via the draft. Someone's got to suit up week 1. So I think this is where it gets funky because do the Ravens have the balls to do this? Do the Ravens have the balls to jump out there and take a QB in the first round? And if it is the first round, are they going to try to maneuver up to try to get into this top 10? Or are they going to sit and see if Hendon Hooker is there at 22? That would be interesting. If they're going to sit and wait to see, I think it's safe to say Hendon Hooker will be there at 22 unless a team is really enamored with him at the bottom of the first round or maybe early second round to make the jump up. If you're the Colts, maybe you forfeit that 35 and try to jump up into the bottom of the first round. If Hooker's really there, let's say they don't go QB at 4. There's tons of scenarios where this could play out to where teams in the high second round may want to sneak back into the bottom of the first round to scoop a guy up, and that guy could be Hendon Hooker. And if you're the Ravens, do you want to risk that when you're at 22? Because right now you have to figure out if you're trying to get ahead of the Ravens, if you really think they're going to do it, then the magic spot is 21 here because we know the Chargers aren't going to do it. The Seahawks, Pete Carroll has said he's not opposed to taking a QB in the first round, so I don't know if you want to play that game there. You see the Bucs there, still at 19, still allegedly maybe looking at Bijan Robinson. But yeah, I think that's where if you're the Ravens, if you're going to stay at 22, I think the move there is Hendon Hooker. And to me, while that would at least give them a QB that's worth a damn for week 1, that doesn't, to me, help them in this negotiations with Lamar Jackson. Boogie Down is pulling up. Didn't have to tell me that the sound is messed up today, so that's a win, but we'll go to Boogie Down early. Ravens won't be in draft position to get a top prospect at QB. Any QB they will get will be horrible and won't really benefit the Ravens. I mean, I think Hendon Hooker is pretty good. I think Hendon Hooker's pretty good. If they could get him at 22, I'm not saying he's going to be, clearly he's not better than Lamar, right? And I don't think he even projects to be better than Lamar. He's not even really a Lamar type QB, to keep it a buck with you, because right here off rip, he's giving you 70% completion percentage. But in regards to can he be a stopgap? For sure. Like at some point, the Ravens and Lamar need to figure this out. Do you want this to go the way of Kirk Cousins, where you just keep playing out the last 2 years of this franchise tag and then we go our separate ways? And if that's the case, then maybe you do go up and at 22, take Hendon Hooker, because now at least you know you have your QB in waiting. Because right now there's no QB. Lamar allegedly doesn't want to be there. Like, depending on who you believe, either Lamar doesn't want to be there or he's not showing up until he get his money. Either way, none of that speaks, none of that speaks to him starting week 1 as of right now. So if that's the case, do you go the way of almost said it, the Washington football team, now the Commanders, and go the way of, all right, let's just play this out year by year on the tag. We'll give you the 32.4. We got to tag him again. Maybe they give him the exclusive tag, so they have to pay him on the way out. Give him one last bag on the way out, and then they both go their separate ways. But if you take a QB at 22, I think that opens the door for that possibility. And if you're Lamar, are you willing to accept that? I'll just cash out on the tag the last 2 years, and then at 27 heading into 28, barring serious injury, then I could be, if he plays at a similar level to when he's been healthy, that's still going to be a top tier QB, unrestricted free agent on the market. That's still going to be a huge deal. So is that something that's feasible? The concept of, if the Ravens are that serious about going out there and drafting a QB in the first round, then okay, then let's get Lamar on these tags and we'll be done with it in a year or two. After 2024, we're done with it. Heading into the 2025 season, we're done with it. He could go his separate way. We would have paid him, upwards of 70-something million for 2 years on the way out and be done with it. That's something I think both sides should consider it, because if he's holding firm that he wants more guaranteed money, albeit not fully guaranteed contract, if he just wants more guaranteed money than Deshaun Watson, I don't see that changing the Ravens' mindset anytime soon. I just don't. Now they have this current window of negotiating is open until July, I believe the middle of July. Once that's done, once we hit August, if Lamar's not signed, it's only the tag is available. So we'll know about this in about a couple of months of if this is even going to be worked out this season. But one thing we need to be wary of is, everyone who keeps pushing the narrative of the Ravens are in a position of power and they're in a position of leverage and they have a grip on what's going on. I would like y'all to check out this clip. And I'm going to play it. This is at the presser, the pre-draft presser. Let me make sure all my faders are up. And this was a reporter trying to follow up with yet another Lamar, because they got bombarded with Lamar Jackson questions and they tried to duck and dodge during this presser, but someone pressed apparently a little bit too far. And I guess the media PR person for the Ravens tried to jump in and nip that in the bud. Let's go to it.
In respect to this being about the draft and everything, just with the Lamar stuff that's going on.
Hey guys,
are you all looking at quarterbacks?
Out.
Look at that face right there. I'll pause it right there. Look at Harbaugh's face. That man is nervous. That man is nervous.
In respect to this being about the draft and everything, just with the Lamar stuff that's going on.
Hey guys,
are you all looking at quarterbacks
out? If you can, this is about the draft.
And here's the funny part. The guy is saying, hey, this is about the draft. The guy just said the name Lamar to lead off the question. and was then about to get into an actual draft question, but the media PR guy is so antsy. It's just about too many Lamar questions that he jumps down the guy's throat. Pause.
Just move off the
ask-
Lamar Jackson.
Quarterbacks
Alex,
differently.
if you can, this is about the draft.
Yeah, the person's phone dipped out there.
Lamar Jackson.
So they're cutting the guy's mic.
We're not going to answer one more question.
About the draft. Are you looking at quarterbacks differently because of the situations going on?
So Mans had to reword his question just to appease the PR guy. Okay, so he tried to lead off just mentioning Lamar, and it was a problem. And Mans had to go ahead and flip it and reword the question just to make it, pass by so they could get the approval of the PR guy.
This being about the draft and everything, just with the Lamar stuff that's going on.
With the Lamar
Are you
stuff.
looking at quarterbacks
Alex,
differently?
And he's talking about quarterbacks differently. Why is Mans getting shut down? He led off starting talking about the draft. He threw in one little mention of Lamar, and here comes the PR guy trying to change the guy's question. That's how nervous they are in B-More right now. This front office doesn't know what to say publicly. Harbaugh was out there at the owners' meetings, and, Lamar timed that thread to drop about him requesting that trade minutes after Mans started giving his press conference or his media availability. Now we have him again sitting here on the dais with the GM, with the PR, the personnel guy, and shaky in the light. Shaky in the light. This is ridiculous.
This is about the draft.
He's asking a draft question. Just because he mentions the name Lamar doesn't mean he shouldn't be able to ask his question.
We're not going to answer one more question.
About the draft.
We're not taking any more Lamar questions. Okay? We're not. That's literally what the guy said. We're not taking any more Lamar questions. What else is there to talk about? Signing Nelson Aguilar? You want us to give you 30 questions of Nelson Aguilar? Do you want to talk about the F- of the strength coach, the strength staff? Do we want to talk about how former players were saying their injuries were misdiagnosed and their rehabs were rushed, leading to further injuries? Do we want to talk about all the homegrown Ravens who have requested trades? What else is there to talk about? What else? You have nothing else going on. You allegedly offered a contract to Odell. You want 20 questions on that? Putrid franchise. Putrid. Poverty. The Ravens franchise is giving poverty to me. Back to the comments. Boogie down. Harbs and EDC are both nervous. They know LJ is the only reason Ravens are relevant. Ravens are finished without Lamar Jackson. It's starting to look that way. It's starting to look that way. If this right here doesn't show an organization that has a clue. This right here doesn't show an organization that is up to speed and knows what the game plan is. From Harbaugh being thrown out there, being left up all by his lonesome, while Lamar drops that thread in synchronized time to his immediate availability, to now again, they're all sitting at the dais and there's an overzealous media PR guy that is saying enough with the Lamar Jackson questions, as if people have 20 questions about them signing Nelson Aguilar. Poverty franchise. Back to Boogie Down. Lamar Jackson playing mental warfare with the Ravens organization. They wasn't ready for this side of Lamar Jackson. And that's the funny part. They should have. Mans ain't never had an agent. That should let them know what type of time he's on. That should let you know what type of time he's on. So that's their fault. Again, they have no QBs. They only have one QB officially on the roster. And it's gotten to the point where now they have to consider drafting a QB in the first round because they can't convince Lamar Jackson to take a contract that's below his market value. They thought they were going to be able to trick him with some funny money or some contracts that have easy bonuses far off into the future. They thought they were going to be able to trick it off like that. They thought they were going to get him to sign a 360 deal. They really thought they were going to get Lamar Jackson to re-up on a 360 deal. And it's not happening. So now they have no real QBs to speak of, or no QBs that are worth a damn on the roster. So now they got to go spend the 22nd pick potentially on a quarterback just so they could have a QB to start week 1. Poverty franchise with the Baltimore Ravens. Y'all let me know. Am I reaching? I'm here for the discourse. If y'all think I'm reaching, let me know. Because right now, the Ravens are about to spend the 22nd pick, which they had no intentions of thinking they were going to spend this on the QB. You know damn well they thought that they were going to get this Lamar thing figured out, either paying him or trading him. They're at a stalemate. Now they're stuck. Now they might have to go get Hendon Hooker just to have a QB1 week 1. Crazy. And then, if we want to go into this, I won't go into the tweet because the tweet doesn't matter. Just looking at, there's an NFL executive. Oh, let me make sure I can read that. Okay, cool. There's an NFL executive that had a comment on massive quarterback contracts. Who got what they paid for? End quote. In essence, saying no one has gotten what they wanted by giving out all these big money contracts to QBs. This sounds like an NFL exec who hasn't had to pay out a massive QB contract yet. I'm going to jump out the window and say this is probably a Cincinnati Bengal executive, because I can't see the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. I can't see the Chargers with Justin Herbert. I can't see any of the teams that have a QB on the cusp of signing a massive QB contract saying something this idiotic, unless it's Mike Brown and the Cincinnati Bengals, who are notoriously cheap. But if you look at this list here, yeah, Aaron Rodgers got a bag. They missed the playoffs. Russell Wilson got a bag, missed the playoffs. Kyler Murray missed the playoffs, but he also got hurt. You got to throw that in there. Deshaun Watson missed the playoffs. Well, yes, because he was suspended for 12 games. Like, if you just go down this list and just live with the ultimate result, it looks horrible. But of course, there's layers to it, right? Mahomes, though, wins the damn Super Bowl. Josh Allen made it to the playoffs. Derek Carr missed the playoffs, and now he's gone. Matt Stafford, injured, missed the playoffs. Dak Prescott lost in the playoffs. So there's a way for people to just make results fit their narrative. And this fits the narrative of who got what they paid for. By this list, you can only say Mahomes. That only the Chiefs got what they paid for. And again, remember, it's not $45 million. That's, funny money. So yes, when it comes right down to it, this makes sense. But then when you peel back the layers, nah, dog, there's more here. Aaron Rodgers missed time. Russell Wilson missed time. New coach, new system. Like you can, cop pleas for at least half this list, minimum. But this is where executives jump out here and give, again, another person giving anonymous quotes. Why won't these guys stand 10 toes down in their quotes? Own it. Don't just air it out to a blue check boy for them to take it and run with it. Air it out. Stand on it. Don't be sending a little cute little text, but don't say it's from me, though. Don't be dropping all the shade in the group chat, but you don't want to own it publicly. We'll go to the comments. Let's see what we got. Thank you for pulling up. Not sure you've been here before. I do not. Yeah, what? I do not know how to pronounce that name, so forgive me for that. I am so happy for Lamar Jackson. He is going to be traded to a team who really appreciates his worth. The Ravens are being exposed for the fake love, and DeCosta and Harbaugh will be fired. Well, I certainly think DeCosta is under the gun. Harbaugh might have some cachet there, but DeCosta, I mean, it's hard to follow Ozzie Newsome, but he has not done the job. That might be the change. If there were to be a change, I would say that should be the change for the Baltimore Ravens. But yeah, thank you for the comment. Appreciate you. Boogie down. Burrow is going to want Watson type of money. Super Bowl and AFC Championship. Thing is, he's really dependent on his weapons. Three-headed trio at receiver. If Burrow gets top dollar, they won't be able to keep weapons. That's a good point. That's a very good point. And here's the funny thing about it, right? And that's why I think ultimately teams are still just waiting for this Lamar thing before they try to get these extensions done. Because if Lamar just has to accept the tag, let's say we get past July. We get past the July, I believe it's July 17th. I could be off on that. But sometime in July, the deadline for the long-term deals to be worked out with players on the franchise tag. Let's say that deadline comes and goes. Now that means, all right, well, I don't think they're trading him at that point. I think it's just Lamar deciding what week he's going to report. So at that point in time, you can go ahead, if you're the Eagles, the Chargers, and the Bengals, and continue to give these funny money contracts out because you would have dodged the bullet. You would have dodged the bullet once you get past that July deadline for Lamar to sign on the for a long-term deal to be worked out with Lamar on the franchise tag. I think at that point you have to just go ahead and just, all right, Jalen, you're not going to get Deshaun Watson money, right? Cool. So get your second round pick. Cool. All right. We'll give you like Josh Allen money, but just a little bit more, guaranteed. Well, Josh Allen got 150. Maybe they'll give him. See, because he's going to want Watson or Kyler Murray money. Those are the two gaps now. You either want the 230 fully guaranteed of Deshaun Watson, or you'll take the traditional funny money incentive roster bonus based contract of Kyler Murray, where it's $189.5 million guaranteed. And then you got some incentive stuff on the back end. So it's somewhere in between there. Lamar is somewhere in between there, allegedly. He's just trying to get more of his bread guaranteed more towards Deshaun Watson than Kyler Murray. If I'm Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, or Joe Burrow, I'm thinking the same thing. And if you look at Joe Burrow's resume, he can make the argument for why he should get Deshaun Watson money or better. The problem is he's never going to get that in Cincinnati. Knowing that owner, he's never going to get that in Cincinnati. If he does get that, it would be a monumental shift in that organization's history. The Bengals never pay anybody. But if they were to pay somebody, you can make a case it should be Joe Burrow. But to Boogie Down's point, if you give him all that money, unless you have some really good capologists who can, stretch that money out and restructure it after the deal is actually signed, they might be able to finagle some room to be able to have some money left. Not for all three, not for Boyd, Chase, and Higgins. Because Higgins, I don't know if Higgins even is there in a couple of years because he's real close to getting to the bag. But in terms of Chase and Boyd, those might be the two that stand the test of time there with Burrow. Because Higgins, I can see Higgins cashing out big time. Okay, so we have that. So now here's the second piece of this Lamar thing, right? NFL executive Patrick Mahomes would get fully guaranteed offers in Lamar Jackson's shoes. That's another anonymous NFL exec says the thing, but doesn't want to put his name on it. So let's go into the story here. Now, this was courtesy of the Athletics' Mike Sando. He spoke to a NFL exec and said that same quote. If Patrick Mahomes were in Lamar Jackson's shoes, he would have 30 offer sheets, all guaranteed. Okay? If Patrick Mahomes were in Lamar's shoes, he would have 30 offer sheets, all guaranteed. And that's why it's so puzzling. Yes, Mahomes is better than Lamar Jackson. I will never sit here and try to battle anybody on that. It would be a silly argument, right? Mahomes is the best player in the whole league. Now, with that being said, is the gap between what Mahomes is at his peak and what Lamar is at his peak that large that Mahomes should have 30 more offer sheets than Lamar? I don't think so. I don't think so. I certainly get it. Mahomes looks more, he's closer to a traditional QB, even though he's not, right? He looks the part of a traditional QB, and he's a winner. Even though Lamar, with his QB record, and I know some people like to discount wins, and QB wins is not always attributed to the play of the QB, but a dub is a dub. The object, what Herm say, you play to win the game. And Lamar Jackson, damn, LeBron's on the brain, pause. Lamar Jackson has been a winner at this level. What is he, 46-18 or something like that? Like he's got it's not just a couple games over 500. You know, it's not like the whole Belichick without Brady record where he's a game under 500. No, Lamar has a significant win percentage in this league as a starter. But if Mahomes and Lamar were really out there, do you think it would be this big of a gap where Patrick Mahomes could go get whatever he wants? And if anything, to keep it a buck with you, this goes to what, you know, I dropped the video today about how Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen cost Lamar Jackson money, because if Patrick Mahomes is out here getting all guaranteed money, then why didn't he get that a few years ago? Which has exactly been my whole point this whole time. If this NFL exec is saying if Patrick Mahomes were in Lamar's shoes, he would have 30 offer sheets, all guaranteed, then that tells me he could have got guaranteed money a few seasons ago, but didn't. Now I went and did some digging into that contract to really pull out the nuts and bolts of it, and it's $141 million guaranteed no matter what, right? There's a lot of incentives and bonuses that are easy to reach. Here's the problem. The bulk of those are basically him being on the roster. It's roster bonuses. So that money becomes guaranteed, but he has to be on the roster for that bonus to trigger and to get that guaranteed money. So basically, he has to be him and be at that high of a level for the bulk of this contract for him to get those roster bonuses. That's assuming health. That's assuming skill sets not eroding, so on and so forth, right? You're banking on the fact that he's not going to be injury prone, and he's still going to be elite top tier. The problem is that the way that the contract escalates at that point would still be undervalued. It would be under market value. Like in 2031, he's going to be making like 50 something million. In 2031, if Mahomes is still Mahomes, he's only going to get 50 something million. That doesn't make sense to me. So that's why if he would have just got the 450 guaranteed up front, then when you renegotiate, you know, you bang him for another 300 as he gets older. But to take this 450 that some people are hyping the value to 503 if he nails every single incentive. Of that 450, he gets 141 guaranteed no matter what. Then he has to play for an extended period of time because remember, it's a 10-year contract. He has to keep playing at this level to be on the roster, to be on the team, to collect those big bonuses on the back end. So he can't get hurt and he can't suck. He has to be on the roster. And again, not to say that, it's not going to be easy it appears he's going to get most of those, right? We all can assume he's going to be the QB in Kansas City for at least another five years easy, right? So that takes him to about 2028, 2029. But again, we're looking at 2031. Is anyone really ready to say right now, Mahomes in 8 years is still going to be the starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs? And he's still going to be at top tier, top 5 QB 8 years from now. I think we can all safely say it 4 years from now, probably 5, 6 years. I don't know. But the way that contract is, he better be if he wants to see the bulk of that 450. And that's the problem. If an exec is saying just a couple of years after he signs a funny money contract that if he were in Lamar Jackson's shoes right now, he could get all guaranteed money, then that means he should have got all guaranteed money a couple of seasons ago. Fresh off an MVP, fresh off a Super Bowl, fresh off a Super Bowl MVP. And I said it in that clip, but I'll say it again. If there ever was someone who had the leverage to negotiate that off of Kirk Cousins setting the bar and getting full and guaranteed money, if there's anyone that could have been in a power leverage position to get $450 million guaranteed, fresh off a Super Bowl, fresh off a Super Bowl MVP and a league MVP, it would have been this guy, Patrick Mahomes. But yet and still, he took the traditional contract that has a lot of back-end roster bonus incentive money on the back end. Instead of getting all that bread straight up front like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is going to continue to make fully guaranteed money throughout. Vikings keep giving Cousins extensions, and the extensions are fully guaranteed. So it's not like, they only gave him that one deal. No, the Vikings have continued to give him extensions, and those extensions have been fully guaranteed. Why? Because once you go there, you can't go back. Once you get all your bread up front, guaranteed, there's no going back. Roster bonus? Hell you talking about? Incentives? No. Up front. Or something so easily attainable that even though they want to, frame it as a roster bonus or a signing bonus, whatever. Long as that money hits the account in full. But whatever, man. Jump to the comments. Josh is pulled up. What's good, Josh? Let me get it so we can see the comments here on that background. The background's a little funky. I'm working on that. Let's see. Well, the draft is tricky this year, but the trade snares for Lamar Jackson seem interesting. It's been quiet on the trade front, to be honest with you, Josh. I mean, I think so, but I don't know. I mean, obviously, we don't know anything until after the draft, right? We won't know anything until after the draft, but I don't know how many teams are going to jump out the window. The draft will kind of let us know who still needs a quarterback. Teams are going to play their hand with how they draft. So after that, we'll be able to see who's down for what. How are contract talks for Michael Pittman Jr. going? I have no idea. I could look it up. Is he in his third year? Is he trying to get an extension? Is that what he's trying to do? I didn't know Michael Pittman was up for anything. Let's see. Is that your way, Joshua, of saying, you know, Lamar to the Colts? Because he'll have Pittman there. Let's see. I'm not seeing nothing new per se. Yeah, I'm not seeing nothing about Michael Pittman. So if you have some info, let me know. Or let me know who has something. If you saw some tea on Michael Pittman, let me know. I could search, but quick Twitter search for me right now. I'm not seeing anything in regards to Michael Pittman and anything like that. But let me go check some of my NFL people and just see real quick. Maybe I'm missing something. But in the meantime, boogie down. What if Andy Reid retires soon? I know Mahomes is good, but we can't deny how elite of an offensive genius Reid is, the way he schemes the receivers open, make it much easier on the QB. That's also a factor. So Mahomes has to be healthy. Mahomes has to be top tier. And, you know, Andy Reid's not young. Assuming, you know, he leaves in the next few years, how does that work? How does that work? Because it's not guaranteed that no matter who they bring in, you know, he's going to be top tier. Learning a new system, it wouldn't be it would be the first time he's had to do that at this level. So, could be interesting. Let's see. Yeah, definitely not seeing anything. But on Pittman anyway. Let me see, Josh. He has about 1 or 2 years left on his. Heard a rumor about Pittman being part of a trade discussion. Oof, good Lord. If that happens, if I'm Lamar, I don't report. You're going to trade the one weapon that's here? It's going to be RPOs with me and Jonathan Taylor? That's sick. That's super sick. I wouldn't do that. Because now the Ravens could sit back and just go get a QB in the draft, and Hendon Hooker now is throwing to Michael Pittman Jr. So I don't know. So there's a lot of talk. We talked earlier about, are the Ravens going to draft a QB? But, you know, DaCosta on the Ravens team website said that, let me see if I can pull it up here. I think the fans will be happy that it's a strong receiver class. We see a multitude of guys that could go in the first couple of rounds. It's a great opportunity for us. Right? So they're talking a lot about maybe a QB. They're talking a lot about a strong receiver class. But the problem is they've done this already. They have done this already. Let me pull this up. Where's their draft history? Let's get that draft history. 2021. All right. That's Football Reference is not good for that. Okay. Ravens draft history. Okay. There it is. Okay. So, no receivers last year. This is the Ravens, just so we see it. No receivers last year. They had Bateman. Bateman's been mid since they've taken him. That was a first-round pick. Tylan Wallace, have no idea who that is. Duvernay has been serviceable. James Prochet, no idea who that is. Hollywood Brown, mixed results, but ultimately I think lived up to being the 25th pick in the draft. Miles Boykin flashed early, but didn't really give you anything. And then, yeah, that's it. The year before that, 2018, what was a Lamar draft? So, you know, can you trust this front office who is saying this is a strong receiver class? Well, they've had an opportunity with a third-round pick, with a first round pick, a couple third round picks, and Bateman was a first, right? Yeah, Bateman was a first. So they've had bottom of the first round receivers that have not really panned out that well. Outside of it, I mean, Hollywood Brown is he's okay, but bottom of the first round for him. Bateman was bottom of the first round, and then a bunch of third round picks at receiver. I'm not trusting that. So them jumping out here saying, I think fans will be happy that it's a strong receiver class, but you've given us no confidence that you know what to do with a strong receiver class. Why would I trust that? Why would I, if I was a Ravens fan, and thankfully I'm not, but if I were a Ravens fan, and I only say that because I wouldn't know how to feel as a fan. I'm pro player by default, so I would be very mad at the Ravens if I was a fan, but I'm just glad I gave up fandom because this is this type of thing right here that used to piss me off as a fan. It had me like really stressed when, as a fan, you have no control over any of this. I'm like, you're allowing yourself to get worked up emotionally over something you literally have no control over. So it's a strong receiver class, but the Ravens have never showed us that they know what the hell they're doing when they have picks with deep receiver classes. Like, let's see. If we do this here, Rashard Bateman, will that give us that draft? Okay. So who went after him at receiver? Elijah Moore. So you have Rashard Bateman at 27 and Elijah Moore. You could argue Elijah Moore is better than Rashard Bateman. You could argue that. He's certainly been more productive. Who else? Is there another receiver? Rondale Moore. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Dwayne Eskridge. Elijah Moore is looking like the one. Josh Palmer, speedster. Lamar could have used that. Josh Palmer, he could use that speed. Amari Rodgers, if you believe that narrative. Nico Collins, so there was some receivers there, right? So let's go to the one before that, where they didn't take. Let's see, they went third round, right? Let's see, Baltimore. Who did they draft? Baltimore. Okay, so they took Patrick Queen, so can't kill them too much, but they could have had T. Higgins or Michael Pittman Jr. Look at that. Took Patrick Queen. They missed out on Ayuk. They missed out on Jalen Reagor. Hi, Philly. Justin Jefferson at 22. Brandon Ayuk at 25. But taking Patrick Queen when T. Higgins and Michael Pittman Jr. were right there. So again, should Ravens fans really be happy that this is a strong receiver class when they took Patrick Queen? No shade, he's not a bad player, but when you have a QB like Lamar Jackson and you see T. Higgins and Michael Pittman Jr. going right there a few picks later, that kind of shows you really might not have a grasp on what it takes to scout and evaluate receivers. Okay, so this is all stuff we're seeing in real time. Let's see, do we dare go one more? One more draft back? All right, let's go one more draft back. Where did they go? Where did they draft? I see y'all in the comments. Oh, they took Hollywood. All right, they took Hollywood. Nicole Harry. All right, yeah, that's probably still a better. Debo. Hollywood Brown at 25. Debo at 36. I don't know if everyone knew Debo was going to be what Debo has turned out to be, but Hollywood Brown, 25, Debo at 36. A.J. Brown, 51. You want to keep going? McCole Hardman, 56. DK Metcalf, 64. So even when you took and you kind of hit with Hollywood, you did it at the expense of not having Debo or A.J. Brown. Sad. But we're supposed to trust that front office that it's a strong receiver class. Terry McLaurin. Sad. Absolutely sad. Putrid. Putrid. How am I supposed to trust this front office? How? Every year, going back until when Lamar was drafted, there has been clear misses or clear misses at wide receiver. This is why we do this live, and this is why I take the time to dig and just say, all right, let's just go back and search these drafts, because we need to call out when people are lying. I think fans will be happy that it's a strong receiver class. We see a multitude of guys that could go in the first couple rounds. It's a great opportunity for us. Well, you've had multiple opportunities over the last 3 years, and you have struck out every single year. Every single year you have struck out at wide receiver. But Lamar's injury prone, right? Lamar misses people wide open, right? Crazy. We'll jump to the comments. Boogie down. I think the Colts already have a deal in place for Lamar Jackson. I think it's a done deal already. All right, well, hopefully it's more of a done deal than what we thought the Aaron Rodgers to the Jets thing was a few weeks ago. So I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know. I actually was in a group chat with some people who are close to the Jets. They didn't seem to be too they didn't seem to think it was happening anytime soon. I'll just say that. What anytime soon means, I don't know. Could be next week, could be this weekend, who the hell knows? Could be tonight, who the hell knows? But yeah, I don't know. Joshua. The interesting part was maybe getting Anthony Richardson if Pittman fell into our laps, and if the Ravens drafted Quentin Johnson. It is a long shot, but interesting regardless. I think Quentin Johnson, he'll be there at 22. I think he'll be there at 22, and this mock has him going the spot after y'all at 23, and I think that would be hilarious if they allow Quentin to go one spot after them. If the Vikings could get out here with Justin Jefferson and Quentin Johnston, then yeah, you can live with Kirk Cousins as your QB because you just keep giving him weapons. That's what you do. If the Ravens feel Lamar ain't it, if they think he's injury prone, if they don't think he's as good as he was that MVP year, even though their stats are the contrary, then how about you do what other teams do once they realize our guy isn't the guy? We surround him with weapons. You think the Dolphins really think Tua Tagovailoa is top tier? No. That's why they go out and they go get Jalen Waddle. That's why they go out there and make the big trade to go get Tyreek Hill. That's why they revamp their running backs on the fly and have Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. They surround him with weapons. They make it almost foolproof. Jalen Hurts. It was a huge jump from one year to last year because they went and got him A.J. Brown, made his job easier. Devonta Smith, cool. All right, you need more weapons? All right, cool. You got Goddard? All right, you need more? All right, A.J. Brown. Who the Ravens could have drafted, by the way, but didn't. Took Hollywood Brown. Boogie down. Elijah Moore and Terrence Marshall are better than Bateman. For sure, Elijah Moore, Terrence Marshall. I think that's for sure a given. So yeah, I'm here for that. I hate to say it, but Bateman seems to be a bust. Yeah, the system hasn't been the best for receivers as well. So again, that's why this is such a pivotal offseason for the Ravens, because they got a new OC who wants to air it out, allegedly. So if you have a new OC that's coming in and wants to air it out, how can you have your franchise QB, twiddling his thumbs waiting for some guaranteed money? Go pay that man so you can hit the ground running and install this new offense so you can finally see. Like, here's the thing, right? Do you think the Ravens have told Lamar, look, clearly we're not going to give you the money you want. You also seemingly don't have the trade value you think you have. So how about this? You come back, you sign that tag, 32.4 M's. We have a new OC. He wants to air it out, or at least be a more pro-style, anti-Greg Roman offense that has some balance, right? It's not going to be running people to death, right? If you perform with this style, with this new system, with this new OC, and you perform, and it's not the MVP year where it was heavily based on your running, or even the year after that when you went 11-4, heavily based off your running. If you play where it's more about your arm, even though last year he showed signs of being more dynamic with his arm than his legs, but still, if you show in this new system that you are up to snuff and can perform and excel in it, then we'll give you the bag. Because franchise tags are nothing but prove it deals. They'll pay you well, but it's a short-term deal. It's a prove it. So is that a compromise to this? Because I don't know how much movement we're going to get post the draft. I do not know. Joshua, the QB class seems static at best this year. Yeah, I don't think there's any franchise QBs in this draft. I don't see one. I think Bryce Young has potential to be a star QB. I'm not that big on Stroud, to be quite honest. But I'm not going to sit here and claim to be a college QB savant either. So much again, this is why I think the draft should be abolished. I think it's going to be all about system. This whole draft, everything about the draft is for a player to excel, the player has to be put in the right system. I have no idea if the system the Panthers are going to run is going to be beneficial to CJ Stroud's strengths. I have no idea. I have no idea if what the Texans are planning to do on offense will be beneficial to Bryce Young. I have no idea. And we collectively don't know either. Bryce Young could be nice, but the system could be a bad fit. We know he's got the size issues. We see it. We know he's got the size issues, but we don't know if the system they have for him in Houston, if this is how it goes, is going to be the most beneficial for his career, for his success. Wouldn't it be nice for Bryce Young to be able to go to the team that's going to put a system around him instead of wishing upon a star, hoping that whoever drafts him understands his skill set and builds a system around him? Doesn't that sound more like a more, acceptable process? But, we've had this for X amount of years, and why change it, right? Because, clearly what the thought process was hundreds of years ago should still be the case today. Whatever. Boogie down. The Ravens haven't gotten Lamar Jackson weapons because they never planned on him being here long term. His MVP season changed everything. If you got Lamar Jackson weapons, his stats skyrocket and you can't stall on his money. There could be something to that. There could be. There could be something to that. Let's see, Joshua. If they skip on a wide receiver and the Ravens make excuses yet again, I hate to say it, but the Ravens are a hard team to watch. I mean, sadly, they're a hard team to watch even with Lamar. That's the problem. Part of that is Greg Roman. But that problem's gone now, right? The Greg Roman thing is over. So now they're supposed to have, a more pro-style offense that's supposed to be upbeat. But they got dude from Georgia. So Georgia knows how to push the ball down the field, get the vertical routes going, the non-routes going. We'll see. Let's see. If Baltimore got the 4th pick in the draft, it pains to say it, but Baltimore could draft CJ Stroud. You think CJ's going to be there at 4? If they do a deal for, I don't know how they would get 4. If you're talking about the whole Lamar thing or the Pittman thing, If the Ravens end up at 4, I think it's Richardson. I don't think CJ is there at 4. But again, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Bryce Young finna be worse than Kyler Murray if he goes to the Texans. RIP his career. Yeah, see that's the thing. Like, a lot of us are a little worried about the size here. Pause. 5'10", and it's a generous 5'10". If you saw the pic of him and Mina Kimes, I don't know how accurate this 5'10" is. Once you look at that pic, but okay. But yeah, I think that's something to be wary of. Jalen Carter keeps tumbling down draft boards. Apparently, he's going to go visit the Bears. Apparently. But there's so many conflicting reports on Jalen Carter. There's reports that say most teams have him off their board. Then there's he doesn't want to do any visits or no pre-draft interviews unless you have a top 10 pick or something. Like, it's a bunch of misinformation in regards to Jalen Carter. And there's a good chance he could tumble. If the Texans find a way to get, if they don't go defense, if they don't go QB, which is something we talked about on Monday, right? That we talked about on Monday, where there's a scenario where the Texans don't go QB at 2. If they could go get a defensive player and then somehow spin the block on 12 and get Jalen Carter, that could be dicey. Although I don't know if he gets past the Eagles at 10. Pair him with Jordan Davis. But if he somehow gets past the Eagles and the Titans, and I'm the Texans at 12, as much as if JSN is still there, that's enticing. To get a talent like Jalen Carter, who's thought to go maybe number 1 overall, to get him potentially at 12, definitely something to think about, for sure. Joshua, I heard something about Houston passing up on QB. Arizona would pass up on QB. I would rather have Anthony Richardson and sign a veteran quarterback. Yeah, the piece, what was it? Peter King. Peter King of Sports Illustrated. He talked to the Texans, or someone in the Texans front office, and they told him, yeah, it's not a lock that we're taking the QB at 2. Now, that could be posturing. That could be, something to run the price up. Yesterday's price is not today's price. That could be that. Or they could be legitimately, I think it would be smart of them. Especially if you really are if you really lock in on your draft board, right? Like, let's take this big board. Let's assume this big board is the Texas big board, right? Let's see if I can frame it up right. Right there. I can't get all 10 picks in. All right, fine. So let's assume they have Bryce Young as their top QB. But let's say they don't have CJ as their third, right? So let's say Bryce Young goes 1 to the Panthers. Now you got Will Anderson that's still the top player on your board. Now, are you a slave to the board or are you a slave to need? They need a quarterback. There's no secret. But if they have Bryce Young at 1 and Will Anderson is still the top player on their board, do you stick to your board and go Will Anderson, or do you go by need and take the lesser QB by your evaluating as with CJ Stroud? And then if you still have Jalen Carter on your board, where is he? So it's a dicey thing. If you're the Texans, there's definitely scenarios where you do not end up taking the QB at 2. And I don't think it would be problematic or anything of the like. I think it could be a real good, fruitful thing for them to not take a QB at 2, especially if the QB you really think is there, that you really want, isn't there. Go take Will Anderson. I'm not putting him on the edge, but, feel free to do what you do. DeMeco Ryan certainly knows more than me, so maybe he could find a way to make him dynamic. But if you could get Will Anderson at 2, and then potentially further down the line with that second pick at 12 from the Deshaun Watson trade, go get Jalen Carter, because you have to assume, because they still got Davis Mills, right? They still got Davis Mills, so it's not, they would like a QB, But if the QB you really want isn't there, and if you have Davis Mills, not to say that Davis Mills is clearly he's not worth a damn because they're looking for a QB, but as a stopgap, there's Caleb next year. You could tank for Caleb. Just make sure, D'Amico gets the memo, like Lovey seemed to turn down the memo of losing that last game. Don't trick off the number one pick next time. Weren't the Panthers big on Bryce Young? I mean, I think Joshua, at this point, I think the Panthers are high on everybody because there's literally nothing left on that roster. After that DJ Moore trade, there is nothing left offensively for that team. So they should be high on everybody offensively. They should be high on all these QBs. They should consider Anthony Richardson at 1. They should consider everybody at 1. All these QBs, even Will Levis. Why not? Because there's literally nothing there. You can't find a cupboard more bare offensively than the Panthers right now. So who knows who they're truly high on. And that's why draft season is rumor season, because we get different rumors every day. Different rumors, different reports. This team likes this guy. This team is enamored with this guy. This team hopes this guy falls to this spot and all this stuff. And it's like, all right, man. There's so many stories of coulda, shoulda, wouldas after the draft where it's like, well, who cares? Like, oh yeah, if that guy was available at us, we definitely would have taken him. But you didn't. If you wanted them so bad, why didn't you trade up? Why didn't you trade up? Don't sit here and give me revisionist history after the fact. Like, I remember there was a story a few years ago, and they were doing the revisionist history of the Randy Moss draft and all these teams. Yeah, we tried to trade up, but we couldn't. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe that. Randy Moss was tumbling down that draft board in the first round, and and Dallas especially, y'all allowed the Vikings to just sit there and just scoop them up. I don't want to hear it 20 years after the fact that y'all were trying so hard to go get Randy Moss. I don't want to hear it. Boogie down. To me, Stroud is easily the best QB in the draft. I just can't see Bryce lasting with his small frame, and especially wherever he goes, the team isn't going to be that talented. That's fair. That's fair. I think if you believe in Russell Wilson, if you believe in Drew Brees, if you believe in Kyler Murray, then you can trick yourself into thinking Bryce Young being 5'10" doesn't matter. To me, it's more about the other skill sets as opposed to him being 5'10". It's about arm strength, durability at this size. Like, QBs aren't getting hit like they used to, but 5'10" is 5'10" in a league full of giants. So a little concerning there, but boogie down. Panthers got DJ Chark and Adam Thielen. That's decent. And Miles Sanders at running back. I mean, if you say so. DJ Chark, I'm not that big of a fan. Adam Thielen, he's a few years past his prime. Miles Sanders is okay. He's okay. But yeah, I still stand on what I said. That cupboard is bare. You're banking on Adam Thielen in year what? What year is this for Thielen? Adam Thielen, he was the man. Then Stephon Diggs showed up. Then they got rid of Stephon Diggs, and Thielen thought he was going to be the man again, and then they drafted Justin Jefferson. So, yeah, he had this 3-year run here where he thought he was the man. And then, Diggs and Justin Jefferson put all that to bed. So, no, got to do the 2018 Vikings specifically. Okay. Yeah. So Thielen was the man here, and Diggs was kind of the second guy. And then that all flipped up a couple of years later. That all flipped up. So, I mean, cool story about Adam Thielen, but you want a 32, probably going to be 33-year-old receiver to be what, your slot guy? And I know they were joking, but Boogie down, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that they're trying to sell their fans on that, like that to me is where fandom becomes a mental illness. Because there's going to be Panther fans thinking they have a chance, especially with the rookie QB. Because now everyone wants to believe in the Russell Wilson model of, oh, you can win with a rookie QB. You know how special that Seahawks defense was for Seattle to compete at a high level with a rookie QB and a QB that wasn't a first-round pick and Russell Wilson? You know how special that team had to be? Like, it's not just an easy thing. Well, just go draft a rookie QB. It's cheap on the budget and just build out everything else. Yeah, that sounds good because a couple of franchises have been able to do it, but that's not easy. That's not easy to replicate. But, you know, it's a copycat league. Teams would rather do this style than go pay or trade for a guy like Lamar, who is ready-made, and get it done that way. Joshua, I agree. Anthony Richardson was the one I favored as being number one, but only under the condition that he sits down and learns under a veteran QB. Yeah, he has to work on his footwork. That's been the main thing, my main point of contention with Anthony Richardson, much like Justin Fields. It's the mechanics. The mechanics are not good for AR-15. And again, unless they're going to put him out there like Justin Fields with the Bears that first year and he's just running around making plays, I mean, good luck with that, but you better pray he doesn't get hurt. Boogie down. The irony is a QB like Anthony Richardson is much more of a fit for Greg Roman's scheme as opposed to Lamar. Yes. Yes. And I think that's where I think Greg Roman's offense to me is better suited for a QB that's extremely raw throwing the ball. Colin Kaepernick could throw the ball. So he was kind of the best of both worlds with Greg Roman. I don't know if Lamar, is Lamar a better thrower than Colin Kaepernick was at his peak? I'm going to give the edge to Lamar, but it's not by a lot, right? The problem is that Kaepernick had some decent weapons, way more than Lamar. Like, it really just comes down to weapons. Like, all this stuff about what Lamar is or isn't, it's just weapons. Kaepernick at least had Crabtree. I mean, come on, didn't he have Bolden for a year? Like, come on, man. Joshua, Anthony Richardson's height and overall size. I heard that the Ravens have talked to him at least 3 times. I mean, they better be talking to somebody. I don't know how they're going to get him. Like, again, I don't know how the Ravens plan to get up from 22 to 4. Like, good luck. Like, good luck with that. Like, I don't know how you're going to get from 22 up into the top 5, where you're going to have to get a top 5 pick if you want Anthony Richardson. Now, if he somehow tumbles, and even gets past the Raiders at 7, then I think you got to start calling and try to get into this top 10, the back half of the top 10. Would the Falcons do it? With all this Desmond Ridder talk after just 4 games and he's our guy and da-da-da, if Anthony Richardson is there at 8, what are they doing? I like Richardson's height and size. I actually heard Baltimore. Oh, yeah. Read that one. My bad. Boogie down. Oh, LJ is much better than Cap was, and I like Cap. He has a strong arm, didn't have any touch, didn't have the football awareness or football IQ Lamar Jackson had. Pull up those Cap stats. All right. I hope your memory is as good as you think it is, because I think we did this a few weeks ago. Let's see. Football IQ, right? All right. Let's look at the football IQ type stuff. 98 quarterback rating, 91. I'm of the opinion that 90 is where you need to be, right? So he's hit 90 a few times. QBR is in the 70s to 60s, lower as his career went on. But also remember, these last couple of years, he had little to no help. So again, he was hurt one of those years, and 2-6, 1-10. And even that 1-10 year, he still gave you 59%, which is around average. I don't know. I mean, clearly stat-wise, but then we're not including the running. Let's be fair. We know he can't run like Lamar, so I'm not going to jump out the window. But 400, 500, 600, and then he started to get hurt. So, but this 2 back-to-back year thing right here, I mean, Lamar's numbers kill him, right? But I'm just talking about in terms of throwing the ball. Yes, Kaepernick didn't have the best touch. So I agree with Boogie down there. Let's see. I mean, it's almost similar to Lamar if you really want to keep it a buck. Like, I'm surprised people haven't jumped out here with this narrative more so than anything else, because he has the 2 really good years and then the injuries start to happen. And a lot of people would say this is the same thing with Lamar. The 2 good years, the MVP year, and then the year after that where he went 11-4, and then the next 2 years he was battling injuries. Same thing. Is Lamar Jackson just the next incarnation of Colin Kaepernick? And does the fact that they have Greg Roman in common the reason for it? Is the reason for these injuries or the fall off in stats and the like Greg Roman aided? Richardson reminds me a little bit of Dante Culpepper, but the lack of weapons could determine whether a QB is a total flop. I think that's the case with all these QBs, Joshua. I think that's the case with all these QBs. Like, you can't not give a quarterback viable weapons to throw to. Like, that's literally his job, is to throw the ball, move the offense. If the only thing you're telling your quarterback to do is to run the ball and be 1 on 11, then you're hindering that player's ability to be successful at this level. You just are. And this is why it's kind of comparable. The big season, the good season follow up after that, and then 2 seasons that some would say were not good. I'm not of that mindset, but we go to QBR. He doesn't have a QBR that was, no, he has 1-2 years better in terms of QB rating. So Lamar's peak was better than Kaepernick's peak stat-wise. But over the long haul, except for QBR, there's not that much of a difference. But either way, the point remains is that, you know, Greg Roman, are we allowed to look up coordinator stuff? All right, let's go, Greg Roman. Let's see. How do we figure this out? So he was the OC all those years and then he came over to Baltimore. So he was the OC all those years with Lamar. And then he had all those years with Kaepernick. You can make that correlation that Roman be wearing these dudes out. Greg Roman be wearing these dudes out, man. Joshua, Culpepper had crazy stats, but then he choked when Randy Moss left town. Did he choke? Or did he just lose? I mean, losing Randy Moss ain't something light. Randy Moss is You could argue he's the second best receiver of all time. I think any QB would fall off after that. Like, if we're really trying to do that, like, you lose someone like Culpepper. Where is he? Does he spell his name? Is it Dante? Oh, how do you spell it? Oh, is it Dante with an A? No. Why am I blanking on how to spell Culpepper? That's crazy. All right, Culpepper. You just go straight Culpepper. There he is. Oh, the U threw me off. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can guess without looking up the year Randy Moss left. Is it here? 2005? Because if you're telling me this was after Randy Moss and he led the league in passing yards, that's going to be hard for me to believe. Randy Moss was still there, only played 13 games. So he led the league in passing, and Randy Moss wasn't even that big of a factor that year. So I don't know. He was able to lead the league in passing yards on a year when Randy Moss played 13 games and didn't have stats like you would expect from Randy Moss. So I don't know. Might be having a little bit of revisionist history with Culpepper, but I think the point of the matter is, yeah, like you give a QB like Dante Culpepper, Chris Carter, and Randy Moss, yeah, he's gonna put up numbers with that arm in that dome on that fast track with Robert Smith in the backfield. Yeah, that guy's gonna put up numbers. It will be hard to fail with those numbers. But as you see here, they had some rough years, injuries and the like. Interceptions and the like. Cab had a stronger arm in terms of velocity and distance. I'll say that much. Yeah, I mean, Cab had a gun, man. Cab had a gun. Didn't Culpepper injure his knee the year Moss left town? Let me see. Are we assuming this is 2005? Is that when he went to go be a Raider? Let me figure this out. Yeah, that was 05. So 05, Randy Moss is gone. You got the immortal Corin Robinson. How many of y'all remember him? Mwelde Moore, Michael Bennett, Nate Burleson, a young Nate Burleson, Marcus Robinson, salute, bear down. Jim Kleinsaucer. There was some names on this team, man. But yeah, that was the year Randy Moss left. They were still 9-7, even without Randy. That's pretty impressive. And with a hurt Culpepper, it's impressive. All right, so let's see. I would like to move. I would do a quick check of the timeline to make sure we're not missing anything. But I'd like to do a quick check and then move to LeBron. Because I don't know if y'all saw that sound of LeBron being showered with goat sounds during his media availability after the game last night in Utah. But yeah, that was a thing. So I definitely want to get to that and how close the Western Conference is going to be as we head closer to the playoffs here, as we're getting down to like the last week of the regular season. Let's see. Okay, so this is a tweet from Jason La Canfora, who we have brought up here, and he is in that area. Ravens fans know him very well. Make sure y'all can see it. Thank you for those pulling up, dropping a like. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and give your boy a sub. Would also appreciate that. But the Ravens are all about Lamar Jackson and want him back 200%, but won't say his name at their pre-draft media conference and try to shut down media for bringing him up either. Yeah, totally normal franchise. Nothing to see here. They are all class. Definitely not in decay. Now, Jason Lockenfora, he's an insider. He's a guy that has ties to that organization and that area throughout the league as well. So he's one of those. So he's tapped into that city and he's tapped into that base, and he has been airing them out every chance he get of how ridiculous they have been in this Lamar Jackson thing. So we got JLC talking his talk. And if you missed it earlier, the reason why he's saying you can't bring up his name is because that's literally what happened earlier. And I played the clip earlier, but for those who are pulling up late, let me see, get the fader up. This was earlier today at their pre-draft presser. Someone just mentioned the name Lamar Jackson while asking a draft question and got shut down.
In respect to this being about the draft and everything, just with the Lamar stuff that's going on.
Hey guys,
Are you all looking at quarterbacks
Alex,
differently?
if you can, this is about the draft.
This is about the draft.
Just move off the
Ask-
Lamar.
Move off the Lamar. Move off the Lamar.
We're not going to answer Lamar questions.
We're not answering Lamar
Differently
questions.
because of the situations going on.
Mans had to reword his question, so that's why JLC, Jason Lockenfora, is coming with that heat. So that's why we got that tweet. That's why we got that, right? Try to shut down media for bringing him up. Won't say his name at their pre-draft media conference. So, and they're also out here threatening or, putting it out there that they could trade or draft a quarterback in the first round. Yeah. It's been that type of day. It's been that type of a day. Let's see. Nothing else on the timeline as of right now. Not seeing anything. Yeah, not much. Not much is going on. All right, so I'm going to move on to oh, wow. Wait a minute. All right, well, here's something from the Four Letter Network. Mina Kimes put this out there. Teddy Bridgewater, ? Carson Wentz, ? Ravens need contingency plan if Lamar sits out. This what I've been talking about. Lamar can sit out until week 10. He has until week 10 to collect that $32.4 million. And if that's the case, and he's 10 toes down and sitting out, Ravens will have a QB1. And these are the choices. So this is why they had the report of them saying that they would consider drafting a quarterback in the first round. Because look at the options they have if they don't. Carson Wentz, who we just had Peter King say, is one of the worst, bang for your buck players ever. He systematically broke down how much draft collateral and money has been spent on Carson Wentz. And now all of a sudden, Carson Wentz could be an option for the Ravens just because they don't want to pay Lamar Jackson? Asinine. Completely asinine, if you ask me. And Teddy B, solid dude, but you don't want Teddy B, not as your QB1. You don't want Teddy B as your QB1, man. Boogie down, you peeped that, right? While Hobbs look over to the right like that. Like, dog, I'm telling you. I think he was reacting to old boy who pressed. I think he was reacting to old boy. Like, if you go through it right, boom, right there. Right there. That is the look like, yo, get your mans. Get your mans. Or is that the look of, oof, I'm glad he's doing that because I don't even want to talk about Lamar. I took all the heat at the owners' meetings when Lamar was out here putting that thread out saying he requested a trade March 2nd, and now I got everyone running down on me. I don't want a redo of that. I don't want to spin the block on that scenario. So, I think this look is either thankful that Mans is stepping up and getting the Lamar stuff up out of there, or yes, Boogie Down giving that signal like, yo, get your mans. Get your mans. Joshua, the look on both Harbaugh and DeCosta's faces look like someone maybe leaving town in 2024. I think it should be, and again, we don't know, but I'm more inclined to go here. You know. And that's a look of relief after man says no more Lamar Jackson questions. So it was pretty clear. You go from that look, like, yo, get your mans. And then the PR guy does like, you know, he does his job, and then we get the later right there. Relief. Yeah. Poor Ravens. Just pay that man. Pay that man, and you don't need to have that look. Pay that man, and you don't have to do all this. Pay that man, you don't need to have this look. You don't need to have this look if you just pay that man. Like, you know, you want to be cheap with it. So we will move on from that because there's not that much new with that. But I do want to touch on some NBA before I get up out of here. And what I would like to touch on is LeBron did LeBron James GOAT stuff last night. I'll pull up the exact stats. What he had, 37 in a game the Lakers needed to have. In the OT game, no less. So let me get the final box line on LeBron. 37 points, 6 assists, 5 boards, 3 of 10 from 3. So he's still shooting like LeBron, but 14 to 27 from the floor, 52% we round up in 38 minutes. This man's foot is not healthy. But he was able to get it done last night in OT in a game that the Lake Show had to have. Had to have it. And the reason why they had to have it is because, you know, the Clippers and the Warriors are all bunched up. The three of them are all bunched up together. And you see it here. 38 losses. 38 losses, 38 losses, 38 losses. So anything could happen over these next couple of days. The Clippers and the Lakers play in their next game. The Clippers will be coming off 3 days rest. And the Lake Show will be coming off playing their third game in 4 nights, including a back-to-back. So there's questions of whether if Anthony Davis is going to play tonight. A lot going on there. But what happened is, so he puts up the 37 points and he leads into a victory. He had the game-clinching drive to the bucket because he smoked the layup in regulation. And they hit him with the GOAT. And not just, you know, saying he's the GOAT or whatever. Nah, dogs. They actually hit him with GOAT sounds.
Matter. If you can make shots offensively, you got to be able to get stops down the stretch, you know, especially when you're playing against teams that's been scoring. So we had to get stops, and we did that.
LeBron, man, where you think this dude is from, man?
I got to stay focused. I'm locked in, y'all.
All right, brother. Hey, your starting backcourt, Dennis and Austin Average, they combined 46 and 10. How important was that?
Ridiculous.
It makes it hard for our backcourt to be. Matter.
All right, so gotta hear that, right? So here's the thing, though. Can we talk about this hair? Come on, bruh. It's time. It's time, bruh. Like, LeBron is him. No one would ever say he's not him. But, like, bruh, come on, man. Come on, man. And I say that as someone that is, you know, follically challenged in certain spots as well. I've come on home. LeBron just doesn't want to come home, bruh. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, bruh. Come on. At some point, it's just got to stop. It's just got to stop. And the white hairs are creeping in like, yo, like a lot of stuff is going on up here, bruh. A lot of stuff is coming on up here, bruh. Anywho. So they're giving them the goat noises, and it's all fun and games, but they better get out that playing. I'll tell you that. They better make sure they stay away from that playing, because that playing could be dangerous for them. And I know their fans don't want to admit it. I know all of that type of stuff, but they need to be careful, because I don't think it's a layup for them if they get into the play-in. And not necessarily they're going to lose in the play-in, but in the simple fact of, I don't know if I would hold them as a humongous favorite, because again, you're going to have a hobbled LeBron, AD. They call him street clothes, and I think that that's a real detriment to what his acumen truly is and how he's persevered to be that good at that level for this long. But you don't know with him. You can't guarantee that he's going to be healthy for the next 2 months for them to make a deep run into the playoffs. You can't say that about LeBron or AD. I mean, but I still put in a futures bet, so, you know. But anyway, I saw Boogie Down had a question about LeBron. When did LeBron become the GOAT? Oh, Boogie Down. I'm not gonna have that. I mean, we can have that debate. We can have that argument. But I will just direct you and anyone else to a video I did where I didn't put my feelings on it, but I let ChatGPT decide who's the GOAT. And I'd rather have people go check that out than me sit here and get into a really crazy long debate about Jordan versus LeBron. So I'll drop this in the chat. ChatGPT decides the GOAT. LeBron versus Jordan. Y'all could peep that when y'all have some time. But to me, as a 80s baby, there is no debate. There is no when did LeBron come the GOAT, because he is not the GOAT. But, you know, I get why people are on that type of time. I understand it. Couldn't be me. But, you know, I allow people to have their opinions. If you're of a younger generation, I understand why you think LeBron is your GOAT. I get it. Just to me, as an 80s baby, I don't think I'm ever going to see anything in my lifetime that is better than Michael Jordan. I'll just say that piece. Joshua's pulling up. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Not sure when he is the only notable guy on offense. It does attract attention. Not sure what that's in reference to. Refresh me on that one, Joshua. Who are we talking about there? We still on football with that one? Let me know. Boogie Down. Don't tell me you're a LeBron apologist. Nope. Definitely not a LeBron apologist. So you can still keep the same respect you have for me. You can still keep it. I am a Jordan guy. I get, if you're like 35 and under or 30 and under for sure, I can see why you would be a LeBron guy. I still think you're wrong, but I can see why you would be a LeBron guy. There's people out here that think Kobe's better than Jordan and LeBron. So, and you know, the thoughts and prayers to the Bryant family and all the ones in the copter crash, but Kobe's not better than Jordan or LeBron. But I understand the impact he had. There's a lot of today's players that put Kobe on that level. I don't even think Kobe's top 10, but you know, that's just me. But in regards to, let's see. So the play-in, where's that link? Okay. NBA Western Conference. This is what we're looking at, the play-in race. You see it here. If it started right now, Lakers, Pels, Timberwolves, OKC, Dallas on the outside looking in, but still within shooting distance. And then Utah, I think they're pretty much done, but I guess there is a wacky tiebreaker scenario where they could be in the mix. Let me see, blow this up a little bit. Maybe just blow them down. Yep. Okay. Cool. Tiebreakers are going to be interesting because I believe if the Lakers, Clippers, and Golden State all have the same record, I believe Lakers get the tiebreaker. So, you know, the Lakers could end up as the 5 seed if they have all the same record. And it looks like they're going to be playing, you know, Phoenix is pretty much locked in at the 4. I don't know if I want that if I'm the Lakers. I don't want 5. I don't want to face Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in round 1. I don't want that smoke. I don't want that smoke. Let the Clippers get that. If I'm the Warriors, I don't want that smoke either with Phoenix. We're going to get, you know, the return of KD to the Bay with Phoenix, with D-Book, DeAndre Ayton, and the point fraud. That could be interesting. That's probably the sexiest matchup. Phoenix, Golden State, or I guess LA, Phoenix. Just because of the KD factor. I mean, they are undefeated when KD has played. They're undefeated, never lost. So that'll change in the playoffs. But, you know, it's something to keep an eye on because everyone is trying to vie for that 6 seed because people want to face Sacramento. But don't sleep on Sacramento because I think we spoke about them last week. They score a lot of points, bruh. Now, they give up a lot of points too, and you should take all the overs if you're into betting. But Sacramento can score. Your defense, whatever scheme you think you got, that shit don't matter with the Kings, bruh. Light the beam. So how realistic do you think the Lakers are in terms of making a run? I think they can win the West. I'm not sold on Denver as a clear-cut number 1. I'm definitely not sold on Memphis as a contender, even as a 2 seed. And, you know, this bottom half of the West from 4 on down, all those teams I would give as more contenders than the top 3 seeds. Phoenix definitely has a chance with KD. Golden State with Wiggins, assumingly coming back and playing, they have a chance. The Clippers, I don't think they have a realistic chance, but with the stars that they have, it's possible they could go on a run. And then the Lakers with Bron, AD, and the new look Lakers, there's no way you can't tell me they can't make a run. But if you're telling me can Sacramento make a run to advance to the second round, maybe, but no further than that. Memphis, maybe they could make to the conference finals, potentially, but they've had a very erratic year, the Ja stuff notwithstanding. And then Denver, you know, this is something I've talked about a lot on my podcast, the DCMD podcast. The link for that is in the description if you want to check that out. A long-standing, you know, credo of mine is the Nuggets go as Jamal Murray goes. And as much as, you know, Jokic got the 2 MVPs and maybe he finds a way to steal a third one from Joel Embiid, but I'm not a fan of Nikola Jokic in terms of playoff basketball. I think they go as far as Jamal Murray takes them. You need that wing guy in the playoffs that can take pressure off your big. And Jamal Murray, you remember him in the bubble. He was lights out in the bubble. He was sick in the bubble. Well, I guess, sick was different in the bubble. He was sick in a good way in the bubble. I'll head back to the comments. I see y'all. Boogie down. I'm a 90s baby. I saw more LeBron James, but saw end of MJ to see MJ is the GOAT. I'm assuming to me, MJ is the GOAT. Yeah. I mean, facts. I am not going to disagree with you on that. Like, yeah, to me, MJ is the GOAT. Joshua, I dislike many things about LeBron James, but at least he plays on his own terms. Yeah, he's brought in this era of player empowerment, and that has worked out well for some and worked out bad for others. But at least there is a emphasis on players choosing their own path. So I agree with you. I am very much. There's certainly things you could shade LeBron for, besides the hair. There certainly have been rumors about LeBron. I won't say those things publicly, but if you want to go listen to something Chael Sonnen said on a podcast not that long ago. Anywho, all right, we'll go a few more minutes here. Yeah, around 6 o'clock Eastern, so it's 5:50 on my end, according to the computer. So we got a few more minutes if you guys want to chop it up about anything else. You want to keep it back? If you want to keep it basketball, we could do that. If you want to go back to NFL, we could do that. Yeah, there's a lot there. In this East, though, Milwaukee. I mean, I think, Knicks fans are going crazy. I'm up here in the tri-state area. Knicks fans are going crazy because they made the playoffs and they're a 5 seed. Them playing Cleveland is a very sexy matchup because of the whole Donovan Mitchell angle. But I don't see a scenario where Cleveland loses 4 out of 7 games to the Knicks. Philly, with the performance Embiid put on last night, pretty much clinched the 3 seed. They're looking at Brooklyn in the first round. Potentially, Miami could sneak into the 6. Miami, Philly would always be a fun series because of, Jimmy's ties to Philly that 1 year. Tobias Harris over me? Yeah. They stupidly did that. Yeah, and the East is pretty much chalk. What rumors of LeBron? Drop the link for that. Oh, you didn't? Oh, wait a minute. I may have to do I don't know if I could show that. Let me see. I definitely can't show that clip. But let me see. Oh, I hate typing with this mic right in front. All right, let me see. Let's see. I'm just gonna, okay, so I found an article. It has the clip in it. I will not put that, I will not play that here, but you want the link? There you go. So, yeah. If I had a Patreon or some sort of private exclusive thing, if I had if I hit the whole benchmarks, what you gotta have like 1,000 subscribers and all that stuff. If and when I get to that, if and when I get to 1K and we unlock some of that private stuff, then we can have some real conversations. All right. But right now, as we're still publicly putting these streams out, I'ma lay low. What are they referring to, Boogie Down? Let's see. Baseball players, right? Back in the late 90s and 2000s. Right. Joshua, playing the game should also be fun. He went to Miami to play with his friends, got out of the cold, won a gold medal, became a billionaire. Didn't LeBron also want to own the basketball team? He's talked about that. Whether he actually gets to own one, I'm not sure. He owns part of a soccer club over in England. I believe it's Liverpool. I could be wrong. Or is it Man U? He owns a piece of a team over there. I believe he's owner of the Red Sox. Isn't he part of that ownership group? Like a small piece. Like he's not Magic or like Jordan with the Hornets or anything, but he owns like a share. Kind of like Jay-Z with the Nets. He owns like a piece, like a small percentage or whatever. But yes, he has mentioned owning a NBA franchise. So he certainly has the bread to do it. We'll see if that happens. Boogie Down. Okay, yeah. So, you know, I won't put that last one you put it. Yeah, but very similar. But I'll just say this: as opposed to when that person was allegedly on something, the stuff has gotten way better and way less detectable, allegedly. So, probably should end on that note before, you know, somebody comes for me. Pause. So we will end the stream on that note. Salute to Boogie Down and Joshua holding it down heavy in the chat. Anybody else that pulled up, salute to you. Anyone who's catching this live on the replay, I thank you so much. If you're catching this on the replay, feel free to drop a like. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hey, when we get to 1K, I could air some stuff out. I don't want to be that guy that's begging for subs or anything. I don't really care to a certain degree. Like, I'm grinding and people are finding this content as we keep going. But certain things unlock once I hit 1K, and then we can have some real talk conversations. So just letting y'all know that. So if you know people that might like this content, pass it on to them so that they could sub and pull up, and then we can really get this thing cracking. And we can really get some real tea. There's some real tea that I can't put out here yet. So, you know, those who've been listening to my podcast, the DCMD podcast, I'll be dropping some tea there. But there's even stuff I haven't even said on there because that's a public platform. So, you know, let's get to that 1K subs, and then we can create a private platform, and then we can take it from there. So that'll be the goal in the very near future whenever we hit those benchmarks, right? All right, so we will pull up and pull out, pause, and I will check y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow, 4 p.m., another edition of Timeline T. I am your host, DCMD, a.k.a. San Duce Jr. I will holler at y'all tomorrow. Peace.